Jai Hind everyone, myself Dr. Inderjeet Kaur, Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Ajay Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. Today we will be discussing about the screen designing in HCI. So in this we will be starting from the screen and design goals, the screen planning and purpose, organizing the different screen elements, then ordering of screen data and content, the screen navigation and flow, and then visually pleasing composition. Starting from the screen designing, that is how to distract the screen user. Here, if there are some unclear captions or badly worded questions that cause hesitation in reading, they should be avoided rather, and we can say that they may also be interpreted incorrectly, causing the errors. Then improper type and graphic emphasis means improper elements are hidden, emphasis is drawn away from what is important. If there is too many things written on the screen and what is important, that gets lagged behind. Then if there are misleading headings, they are also creating the confusions and they inhibit one's ability to see that about the existing relationship. Then information request that is perceived to be irrelevant or unnecessary. Then information requests that require one to backtrack and then to rethink the previous answer and then look ahead to determine what is the possible context, what is the inefficiency result, and how the mistakes are getting increased. Then if we have the clustered and cramped layout, that is causing the poor layout, it creates a bad initial impact and it leads to more errors. Then poor quality of representation, legibility, appearance, that also cause more errors. Howlett in 1995 was the first person that, based upon her experiences at Microsoft, they suggests the most common problem in visual interface design are: first problem is the visual inconsistency in screen detail presentation with the OS. Then we have the lack of restraint in the use of design feature and elements. Then overuse of three-dimensional presentations. Then overuse of too many bright colors. Then we have poorly designed icons, bad typography, metaphors that are either overbearing or too cute, or we can say they are too literal, causing the restricting design options. There are variety of distractions. For example, there can be numerous audio and video interruptions. There can be extensive visual clutter. We have poor information readability, incomprehensible screen components. We have confusing and inefficient navigation, inefficient operations, excessive or inefficient page scrolling, information overload, design inconsistency, and outdated information. These are the various reasons of distractions. So what screen user wants? The screen users, the expectations are it should be clearly clean, clutter free appearance. It should be giving like that. An obvious indication is what is being shown and what should be done with it. Expected information located where it should be. Then a clear indication of what is related to what. Plain and simple English should be used and clear indication of what an action can make a permanent change in data. Then what screen users do? They identify the tasks to be performed or need to be fulfilled. They decide how the task will be completed or they need fulfillment. Then they manipulate the computer controls. They gather the necessary data. They form the judgment resulting in decision relevant to task. Then what are the interface design goals? They reduce the visual work, they reduce the intellectual work, they reduce the memory work, they reduce the mental work, and they eliminate the burdens or instructions. Then what is screen meaning and purpose? Here each screen element, they have every control, all text, what is the screen organization, how is the all emphasis being drawn, how the every color is looking like, how is the every graphic looking like, all screen animation, all types of feedback. Then how to organize the screen elements very clearly and meaningfully, they should be consistent. And then how to divide the screen data and content. We should divide the information into units that are logical and meaningful, and we should place ordering schemes that are very conventional. Then we should form the groups that cover all the possibilities. We should ensure that all the information is visible and the task is presented on the screen. Conventional here means same ordering schemes should be involved for all the elements. Examples are by days of week, by months of year, that are common for all. Sequence of use, they means grouping involves that are arranging the information items in the order in which they are commonly received or transmitted. Then frequency of use, it is a design technique that is based on the principle that information items that most frequently should be grouped at the beginning. Then function or category, the information items that are grouped according to their purpose or by some common parameters. Then importance is based on the information importance to the user, task or need. Important things, they are placed in a list. Then moving on to the general to specific, if some data is more general than others, the general elements, they should proceed the specific elements. Then upper left starting point, we should always be starting from here rather than starting some from here, then again coming here, then at, then the user will not come to know ki this part is complete or pending. So we should provide an obvious starting point in the screen that is defined as the upper left corner. Our eyeball fixation studies also indicate that if we are looking any kind of information, our eyeball moves from upper left to right and then so on. The study by Stravler and Wasserman in 1984, they found that the visual targets located in the upper left quadrant of the screen, they were the most fastest, and they are located in the lower right quadrant, they took the longest time to find. Then it should provide an ordering of screen, means it is rhythmic, guiding the person eye through display. It encourages the natural movement sequences and it minimizes the pointer and eye movement distances. Then through focus and emphasis, sequentially direct attention to the items that are very critical, that are important, secondary, peripheral, it should be decided. Tab through window, in a logical order of displayed information, they locate command button at the end of tabbing order sequence. So when groups of related information must be broken and displayed onto the separate screens, we should provide breaks at logical and natural points in the information flow. So in establishing the eye movement through a screen, we should also consider the eye trends to move sequentially. For example, when we move from dark areas to light areas, or we always see the big objects to little objects, then from unusual shapes to common shapes, and from highly saturated colors to unsaturated colors. These techniques can be initially used to focus the person attention. This is the human behavior, a human's eye behavior. So we should maintain top to bottom strategy and then left to right through the screen. So this top to bottom orientation is recommended for information entry for the following reasons. Then the eye movements between the items will be shorter, control movements between the items will be shorter, grouping, they are very obvious. When one's eye moves away from the screen and then back, it returns to about the same place it was left. The most product style guides, they recommend a left to right orientation. Our earliest display screen reflected this left to right entry orientation, and top to bottom orientation is also recommended for presenting the display of read only information that should be scanned. Then coming to visual pleasing composition, we should provide visual pleasing composition with the following qualities. First is the balance, how to maintain the symmetry, how to maintain the regularity, how to maintain the predictability, sequentiality, economy, unity, proportion, simplicity and groupings. This is the balance. How we are maintaining the balance? This is maintaining the balance means all sides of the screen, they have the balanced. But here we can see it is the left portion is overloaded, more components are placed here, and the right portion is not so loaded. So it shows the condition of instability. Then moving on to the second one, symmetry. The first diagram, it shows us the symmetric way of presenting the information on the screen. Whereas here we can see few components are here and randomly other components are placed in the right part. So this is the asymmetric way of presenting the information on the screen. Then third one is the regularity. Here we will define the term predictability first. So create the predictability by being consistent and following conventional orders and arrangement. So this first quadrant, it shows the regularity, and here we are maintaining all the components in haphazardical order or the order in which they are coming. So the queue is not properly maintained, so it shows the irregular behavior of placing the components on the screen. Then here is the predictability. It should come like this. At the upper we should have the title bar. Then here icons should be for resizing, for closing the window, and here is the icon. Then we have the menu bar, and then we have the different controls, and in the right bottom part we should have the different buttons. This is the predictable behavior of placing the components on the screen. But this is the spontaneous behavior of placing any kind of component anywhere. Means title bar is at the bottom, menu bar is again at the bottom, and control components, they are placed anywhere. Icons and buttons, they are also randomly placed. So it shows the spontaneous behavior of placing the components on the screen. The next is sequentially. The eye tends to be attracted to a brighter element first, then less bright. Suppose I am wearing a bright color and other person is wearing very dark, less bright color. So the person I will go to first the bright color. The brighter element, then the isolated elements before the elements in the group. Why this person is sitting alone? Our eye will go to first that. Then we will be looking for the graphics, then before the text. Then colors before black and white, and which colors we have preferred. So our human eye tendency is to look for the colors first. Then highly saturated colors before those that are less saturated. Dark areas, it goes first, then before light areas. A big element before the small one, an unusual shape before a usual one, bigger objects than the little objects. This is the sequentiality, and here we have showing the randomness. If components of different size, they are also coming in this sequence, then sequentiality can also be maintained. This is the economy being shown for the components placed on the screen, and this is the intricacy. Any component is placed anywhere. Here is the unity, and this shows the fragmentation. Earlier, the pleasing proportions of placing the components on the screen are, if we want to place the square, it should be in the order of 1:1, and square root of 2, it is 1:1.414. Then this is known as the golden rectangle, and it is of the size 1:1.618. Then square root of 3, 1:1.732. This is double square, 1:2. So in this manner, the square to rectangle components are being placed when we are doing the drag and drop of components. Then this is simplicity, means in a very simple way the components are being placed, and this is a complex way. See this is the view of a bill showing breakup for different components. Here we have again this figure is being redesigned. Then it look like this is the Tully screen. Tully is from 1981 screen. Here the captions, titles and data, they are inscribed by different rectangles, and we have placed them in a different group to have a clear visibility of all the matter that is placed on the screen. Then this is the original screen with grouping indicating by bold. One way is to present our information, and then again it is being redesigned when all the components they are being grouped and they are placed in a bold boxes. Then perceptual principles that can be used to screen functional groupings. We can use the visual organization to create the functional grouping, and the most common principle in screen design is to add visual groupings, that has been the proximity principle. So this is placing means maintaining the adequate spacing between the groups of related elements that enhances the togetherness of each grouping. Then perceptual principles that can be placed to add the screen functional groupings. One is to combine first thing to combine the visual organization principles in a logical ways. Means it can be combined to enhance the groupings. The proximity, a very strong perceptual principle that can guide the eye through an array of information that can be scanned in a particular direction. So this scanning direction can also be made obvious, and then we should avoid the visual organization principles that causes the conflict. Principles, they may not be compatible, however, but the viewer encounters the incompatibilities, confusion results, and in these examples, proximity, it destroys the similarity, proximity overwhelms the closure, and it overwhelms the logical ordering. Then comes the groupings using white space. They provide the adequate separation between groupings through the liberal use of white space, and for web pages we should carefully consider the trade-off between screen white space and the requirement for the page scrolling. Then comes the grouping using borders. We should provide the functional groupings, we should create the spatial groupings, we should have be providing the meaningful titles for each grouping, we should incorporate the borders, we should not exceed the 3-line thickness, the line consistent in height and length, for adjustment grouping with borders whichever is possible, and we should use the rules and borders sparely. So this is the effect of line and graphical borders, and here the grouping without border is being shown, and this is the grouping with border is shown, and we can see clearly the screen is now visible. Then this is the original screen from Tully's, and now we have redesigned the Tully screen based on the proximity principle. Then grouping using background. So when we are considering a contrast background for related information, the background should not have the emphasis on the screen components that should be attended. General, consider a 25% gray screening is generally taken into consideration, and we reserve the high contrast or emphasizing techniques for screen components to which attention can be drawn. Then comes the visual style in web page design. We should maintain a consistent and unified visual style throughout the pages of an entire website, and the base of visual style should be considering the profile and goals of website owner, the profile, taste and expectations of the website user. Then comes how much amount of information we are keeping on the web page. We should present the proper amount of information of the task. When it is too little is insufficient and too much is confusing. So, we should present our information in the middle of them. So, we should present all the information that is necessary for requirement for performing or for making a decision on the screen wherever it is required, and people should not have to remember the things from one screen to next. Then we should restrict the screen and window density levels not more than about 30%. Then comes what web page size should be kept. Minimum the page length means we should restrict to 2 or 3 screens of information. We should place critical and important information at the very top, so is always viewable when the page is open, and we should locate it within the top 4 inches of page. So, this was all about the screen design. The visual pleasing information can be presented on a screen. Thank you.